Welcome to Holistic Health with Melissa, a podcast for women who are ready to stop living in survival mode and start truly healing. I'm Melissa, a holistic trauma and anxiety coach, and here we talk about all things holistic healing for trauma, anxiety, and the nervous system. We blend science, scripture, and somatic work to help you regulate your body, renew your mind, and reconnect with the peace God designed for you to live in. If you're craving real healing, freedom from symptoms, and joy that reaches your mind, body, and spirit, you're in the right place. Do what it's designed to do by the Lord, which is to heal.
That's right.
Right?
That's
like
right.
it's your body is designed to heal. If you take out the toxicity and you take out the, things that are causing these inflammatory processes inside of your body, you're going to heal. Like you don't have to think about it. It's just going to happen. Hi, friend. Do you feel like you've done all the things? You've tried the therapy, the pills, the diets, and nothing seems to work? You have a great life, but something is still missing. You don't feel energized, alive, or free, but you know that you are called for something more. Then I want you to join me for the 3-day Mind Body Healing Workshop, where we'll blend science, scripture, and somatic work to heal your mind, body, and spirit for real this time. You'll step into whole body restoration, finding joy, freedom from symptoms, and freedom from the chains of trauma that have been holding you back. I cannot wait to see you there. Go to holistichealthbymelissa.com to sign up. Your life will never be the same. Hello, welcome everyone back to Holistic Health with Melissa. I am really excited for today's episode. Dr. Chapa is a clinical nutritionist and wellness advocate passionate about helping people feel their best from the inside out. He empowers listeners to balance hormones, improve digestion, and make intentional lifestyle choices that support lasting health. Combining science, practical strategies, and faith, Dr. Chapa inspires others to honor their bodies as God's temple while living a purposeful, vibrant life. And I am so excited that you are here, Dr. Chapa. I was just sharing with him before we started recording that he responded to a message that I called for podcast guests, and I wanted really aligned people, and I went and searched his website, and I just binged all of his content. He has so much content on his social media pages, and he has a great podcast on his website. I'll drop all of those links in the show notes, but I am obsessed with your content, and I could not be happier that you are here. We are friends. You are my brother in Christ. We talked about that, and I thank you so much for being here.
Oh, Melissa, just to hear you open that way just fires me up and gets me excited. And I'll tell you for sure, not just fired up. So one of my favorite things that God gave me a while back, fire, filled inside with resurrection energy. That is such a good place to be. When your body is aligned vertically, all this stuff begins to handle itself horizontally. And that is how we navigate the nasty now and now. And that's what I want people to really grasp hold of. When they heard that message that I help with hormones or I help with digestion, I use faith and lifestyle. And I always want to point people back to, at the end of the day, the first place that you go is vertical. When you get this right, this handles itself. And I call it vitamin J. It's the best vitamin I got. It's Jesus.
Oh, amen to that. So good. So good. Well, like I said, I know some of your story because you've shared it on your podcast. And I, of course, binged a bunch of that when we were scheduling this episode. But I would love to, I always want guests to share a little bit about how they got into this space, because I feel like the Bible tells us to share our testimony because that's how we feel less alone. That's how we see ourselves in other people's stories. And my tagline is healing is always possible. And I really, really want, that's the mission of my podcast, is for people to understand that healing is not just for me and you. It's not just for the other guy down the street or their neighbor. It's for them. So I would love for you to share a little bit about your own personal journey with health and how you wound up being a clinical nutritionist and helping people the way you do.
Man, absolutely. And I just want to, second that all things are possible for those that are in Christ Jesus the Lord. And so I think again, remember all things Jesus, right? Gratitude, vitamin G, and then that leads to vitamin A abundance. So let's get after it. So for me, my story started when I was 15 years old. I was 55 pounds overweight, and as a 15-year-old, I was going through, puberty. I got the dreaded realistic wake up call that sticks and stones may break my bones and your words will never hurt me is a lie. And I was made fun of for being fat. As a matter of fact, these two girls, I was on the swim team, I was in a Speedo, I was actually a pretty good swimmer. And I heard these two girls in the hallway just go, "What is he doing wearing that? He is so fat."
Mm.
And it's still, unfortunately, I can hear the ring of that, although I think that I probably owe that girl a pretty, great big gratitude statement because it changed the trajectory of my life. But, in that moment, it didn't feel like a change. It felt like a blow. And I got knocked down off the old horse. And I went to my locker room, I changed, and literally walked out the back of the school, did not check out, walked my butt home, and had a little talk with myself in the mirror. And I'm thankful that I had a talk with myself in the mirror and went up and didn't have a talk with myself in the mirror and crash. That was the grace of God for sure. There's no other explanation. I've thought about this over the years, but I remember looking myself in the mirror and saying, "Chop, how are we never going to have somebody make fun of us again for being overweight? Because
Mm.
that sucked." And it did. It was very painful. And I looked around my world and said, what can I do to make a difference? I do not have doctors in my background. I was actually, the doctors in the West told me I had high cholesterol. They took me off of bacon. They took me off of eggs. They took me off of butter. Put me on margarine, which many people don't know this, that margarine is one chemical reaction away from plastic. So if you eat make believe food, you have and only will ever get make believe health. So if there is one thing we can get right, let's understand real food matters and what you eat's important, but what you don't eat is more important. And so that concept is one of my cellular fallback points. What you eat's important and what you don't eat is more important. And so what could I get off of? I got off of sugar, and I got off of soda. I got off of juice boxes. I got off of any type of liquid sugar source in teas or Kool-Aids or whatever was available, the sport drinks of the day. And I lost every bit of that 55 pounds with 3 days a week of basketball and no sugar in my diet. That's all I changed because I was raised on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I was raised on tortillas, butter, and sugar. And so that is, my parents ate well, but they both worked. So I was a product of my own devices. And what do we know when people never do what they want to do, they just do what they know how to do. That was easy. That was convenient. I didn't burn the house down. And, I was satisfied with my choices at the time until that day. And that led me to, have a pretty good high school basketball career. And I was, never a dunker or a team or varsity, but I played a lot of sports and found leadership there. And then outside of high school, my first year into practice, my world absolutely positively changed. I had a defining moment in life. And that was the loss of my father. My dad died in my arms of a heart attack. And if anybody has ever ushered a person that they love to the pearly gates, they know the fragility of life. They know the realness of breath in your own lungs, and they appreciate the words, "I love you, I love your brother, and I love your mother." You know what I mean? You get a real dose of sobriety in realizing the impact of loss.
Mm.
And that, as you would imagine, I hope you don't actually, Frankie, I don't want you to have to imagine such. I just want you to hear it and let it resonate, but to know that that changes a person at the cellular level.
Mhm.
And so then I went on a quest. My dad was an excellent man. He did the things of excellence, but he was listening to bad inputs, meaning the education he got with his doctors, the cardiovascular specialist, they were teaching him the American Heart Association diet. And I'm not here to bash the American Heart Association, but I do want to point out they've been around for 100 years as of 2025, and they still lead the charge in heart disease in this country. Over 800,000 people a year die of heart disease. So how do you suck at your job and still stay in business? And so I had to ask some different questions. My dad was he put the stents in, he did the cardio rehab, he took the drugs, he changed the diet, all towards that low fat, high carb diet. Snackwell's cookies is what what his dessert treats that he was told he could eat. We joked around about margarine and parquet butter because it's not real butter. Or can you believe it's not real butter? These were slogans that I was raised on. And we joked around about it. And I came to realize that the diet he was being taught was the diet that robbed him of quality of life and longevity of life. And that put me into an alternative medicine space where I thought I was going to be a chiropractor. And I am a chiropractor by license, but the first 2 years in practice, I never adjusted one person. I only did clinical nutrition. And I called it Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. And I'm a doctor that gives people design clinical nutrition programs, because what works for you won't work for me, and what works for me won't work for somebody else. And we've got to find a non-cookie cutter approach to help people with these underlying inflammatory burdens that are keeping them from being their best, living their best, and performing at their best day in and day out. And that is where it all began. How about that?
Like dropping bombs.
Well, you can't go. It's really fascinating. I had a prayer, and again, the power, vitamin P, the power of prayer. When I was in school, well, prior to school, my undergrad work, I prayed. I said, Lord, I'm going to head towards chiropractic college. But if you change my trajectory, make my path change so smoothly that I don't even realize I changed. What chiropractor 20 years ago, before gluten-free was a thing, okay? Before you could go to a standard grocery store and find quote unquote healthy food aisles. I remember there was this little 4 foot by 4 foot section at a Target in my local area that had some gluten-free items and almond milk.
And that was it.
That was it. And
Yeah.
now you can find aisles and aisles. So before this stuff was, even popularized, I was already on it, that there are 4 deadly food additives. There were 4 inflammatory, foods that will cascade you into disease land. And I was helping people just remove these things off their chopping block, because people never do what they know how to do. They just do what they want to do, or they do what they know how to do, not what they want to do. And people didn't know that food was important. They just were mindlessly eating. And that's what has gotten people in so much trouble, is convenient food living.
Yeah.
And there was a great documentary done many, many long moons ago called Fast Food Nation. And we got a dose of reality in that documentary that fast food will destroy your health. And then you got the guy that came along with Super Size Me, and he got a fast food reality that eating fast food day in and day out for just 30 days, because his blood work pre and his blood work post destroyed him. The doctors were telling him, dude, your cholesterol, dude, your inflammation, dude, stop, please, we beg you. We understand.
It's gonna kill you. Yeah.
You don't have to keep going. And he went on to say, nope, I got to finish. And he went on to show that it took over a year to get his blood work back into balance for 30 days of bad decisions, bad behavior. And how many of us are left to our own devices, are eating like I was as a kid, conveniently and unintentionally, right?
For way more than 30 days too.
For sure. And that is the message, is what you're doing is potentially causing and wrecking your health. And so what can you do right now if it's as simple as even water? What if most people come in, there's a great book, 2 great books for you, that The Body's Many Cries for Water. It's a PDF now. It's not even in print. You can get it online and you can download it. And it is solid, man. You just go, this doctor went around and he totally changed people's life with water. Acid reflux, skin problems, headaches, high blood pressure, depression. Wow, water. And then there's this other book that my mom and I were in Arkansas taking my daughter to a leadership academy, and the massage therapist goes, dude, or told my mom, maybe Dudette, you should read this book called You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty. Well, my mom tells me about it. I write it down. I read it, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, why do I need another book on water? I already know this stuff. Well, the basics, guys. We got to get back to the basics. And
Yeah.
your body is 70% water. And if it's less than that, nature's solution to pollution is dilution, and you don't got the water to dilute, you're concentrated toxic, you're a cesspool of inflammation and infection, and you are going to not like the results of that.
Mm. I already know that you have to come back
I will,
because
Melissa. I will. I
this
will.
is like there's so many, this
Gyms.
is so
Gyms.
good. And people need to hear this. Like, I love that you say people don't do what they want. They know what they
They
do what
do what
they
they
know how to
have.
do.
They're
And
habits.
that is so, I feel like even still, and you've been, spreading this message for all these years, and there's so much good information out there. I feel like there's so much confusion.
Yes.
People don't know how to eat. They're just so confused.
Can I give you
It's
one?
it's intentional though. That's like
Yes.
it's designed, the ultra processed food, the food industry, it's a business.
Hmm.
People, I don't want to spend too much time like harping on it, but like they're in the business to make money,
And
and
they
they
are.
are designing their foods to be addictive. That's why, like, why do you think you can open a bag of potato chips and you can never have one potato chip?
That's why the
Because
slogan says,
they
can't eat
have
just one.
scientists, yeah, once you pop, you can't stop. Like, they have scientists who have designed the food to be super addictive. It's more addictive than like cocaine.
That's right.
So, yes, please go ahead.
And you know what's fascinating too is that you can talk to people about religion. We can talk to people today about politics for the most part. But if you try and talk to people about their food and they're not ready, they go on the defensive, right? And I'm always shocked at the people that tell me what's going to work after they've just told me everything that they've done and it's still not working, whatever it is. They're hard pressed to receive new data. And I don't know if it's because we all have a small pride issue or a big pride issue, or we just want to feel like we're in more control. We don't want to be hopeless. So we want to feel like we know a nugget of truth. And the reality is there is more nutrition in the cardboard your cereals are coming in than there is in the actual cereal in the box. That is a absolute marketed truth. And if you look at the eyes even on the box, the little leprechaun eyes, the little Tony, his eyes are looking down at who? At the children. They're trying to draw the kiddies in because Rand Corporation and Pepsi Corporation and the Lay's Potato Chip Corporation discovered that if by 9 years old you will be eating their food source, you'll eat their food source for life. And
Mm,
that is how people get stuck on Hellman's mayonnaise, or they get stuck on Miracle Whip, or they get stuck on Heinz 57, or whatever they were raised on, whatever type of cola that they were consuming.
yep.
There's the Dr. Pepper people, and the Pepsi people, and the Coke people, and the Mr. Pibb people, and the this is
Yep.
Gatorade, or whatever. Pick your poison. But you nailed it. It's cocaine. And it is harder to break a food addiction than it is to break people of Coke or heroin. I've done more addictive personality with real drugs, the hard stuff, and broke them free of that better than sugar. If sugar
Easier.
was
Yeah.
introduced into our society today, it would be a controlled substance. My
Yep.
favorite story is I had a lady literally bring in one of the old school black and gray top picture cartridges, and it was those little in the olden days before everything was digitized and we had everything stored in a magical cloud in the sky.
Yeah.
We would actually have to take
We had
film.
film. We had
Yeah,
actual
film.
rolls of film that we had to take
Oh man.
to the
And
price club to
that's
get.
right. She would use that little gray and black container as her daily dose of allotted sugar she would allow her kids to consume, because she knew this is 18 years ago. So she was probably, 2 years into my practice. Her and her husband were aware of the power of food, and what you eat's important and what you don't eat's more important. And I tell people day in and day out, like, as much as I know the four deadly food additives, like MSG, monosodium glutamate, partially hydrogenated oils, all your fake oils like canola oil, or like what we like to call con oil. Or if you look into any of these other types of seed oils, but if you look at artificial sugars like aspartame, sucralose, or saccharin, I call it the yellow stuff, blue stuff, pink stuff. It's on every table at the restaurants. And if you're putting it in, or you're letting your kids put it in, they're putting in neurotoxins. And we wonder why our kids are ADD. We wonder why they're ODD. We wonder why they misbehave, why their brain is not remembering, they short circuit. It's because we poisoned them, knowingly or unknowingly. Just like my dad. This is what I want to say. This is no judgment. My dad did what he thought with the time and in the knowledge he was getting from the doctors he was listening to. And again, this is 25 years ago that this journey was going on. And you start to realize that you can practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. Doing the right thing continuously gives you progress, but you can do the right thing wrong, or do the wrong thing right over and over again, and get an inflammatory disorder and shorten your life. And sugar is the devil. I'm telling you, if we could just take one thing off the I won't ever eat again list, it's sugar. And this is the challenge, right? It's the new year. Who doesn't want a good challenge? I remember a few years back, this is probably 2017 for me. I went on a no sugar, no sweet to the palate in any way, not even stevia, no low-hanging fruit, no monk fruit, nothing. If it was sweet, it did not come in. If the spice had it, it didn't come in. All right. So I looked at everything. And I remember I went 100 days, but about day 16 to about day 32, I thought I was going to chew my arm off. And I thought I was kind of sort of on this health trajectory. I thought I kind of knew what I was doing. And for me to want to chew my arm off means one thing and one thing only. That means I was still addicted to even the subtles of sugar hidden in your cupboard. And that was a reality check. Sugar is not your friend. There's a great book called The Sugar Blues, and this book will absolutely rattle your mind, because it will talk about all what today people call conspiracy theories. They're not. This is proven fact. This is payrolls. This is people coming and working for these companies and telling you where the sugar monster came into our society and how it has wrecked our society. And then Nancy Appleton, in her book Lick the Sugar Habit, absolutely positively will blow your mind, because she shows a document in there 157 different ways that sugar can wreck and ruin your health. And so everybody should try the 100-day challenge. And if you went off of sugar for even 30 days, I promise migraines would go away. Blood pressure would stabilize. Energy would come back. Bloat would go away. You would start to feel like your old self again, 10 years ago self again, by the way, just by removing one thing out of your diet. And it is, and I hate to say, it's as simple as the sugar monster. And I can't make it any simpler than that. But the problem is, it's simple, it's easy, not simple. Simple, not easy. Because you need help, because you're so, like you said earlier, we've been doing all these things so much that now we have to help ourselves. This is where God gave us therapeutic herbs to help reset the beta receptors of the pancreas, or different types of herbs to target yeast buildup in the body and pull down the burden, so that your body can see through the mess, through the fog, through the disorder and chaos of inflammation and disease, and then turn back on. Whew, don't get me started.
And do what it's designed to do by the Lord, which is to heal.
That's right.
Right? That's like your body is designed to heal. If you take out the toxicity and you take out the, things that are causing these inflammatory processes inside of your body, you're going to heal. Like, you don't have to think about it. It's just going to happen.
That's correct. And that, guys, and this is the part. So I'm always sad when I hear people that were in my orbit and they were doing great. They were losing weight. Symptoms were going away. Drugs were coming off the list. And then they get I don't know, burdened with life. They get distracted. The nature of of man, the journey of faith is we drift. Pilgrim's Progress teaches, there's many ways to be distracted, and drift is common to man. And we also know, 1 Corinthians 10:13, that temptation is always lurking in the shadows. And what do we know about the devil? He comes to kill, steal, and destroy. But we know the Lord comes to give life and life more abundantly. Well, there's a great leadership book by Napoleon Hill, and it's called Outwitting the Devil. Now, he wrote this in the 20s. This book was not published until the 90s because he knew it's not theologically correct. And so he didn't want his, brothers and sisters in the faith to string him up by his toenails. And
Mm,
so, and look, fear stopped him, right? And fear, it could have freed many of people if he would have just took action. And
mm,
and the magic of thinking big talks about when you take action, fear is very, very weak and fragile and breaks. And that's the only way to take action. So what he taught in that book is that he had 1 hour to ask and interrogate the devil, and the devil was sworn to truth. So that's where he's biblically inaccurate, because we know he's the master deceiver and he's the father of all lies. But for the sake of the story, he said something interesting. And understand, Napoleon Hill was no nutritionist. He was no doctor. Okay. So I say that to just make this apparent point. He said, when he asked the devil, what is your number one trick on man? The devil responded quickly and assertively, gluttony,
mm.
gluttony. If I can get the man to eat past his taste buds, and remember, nothing below your taste buds wants sugar, nothing. All your cells want life giving, nutrient dense, rich foods, nothing inflammatory. And so if I can get man to eat the sugar, eat the junk food, eat for pleasure, eat to a point of gluttony, I got them. They will feed the serpent in the belly. This is from the book. It will feed the serpent in the belly. Do you know what the serpent is?
Mm-hmm.
Parasites.
Mm.
And what do we know today about cancer, autoimmunity, chronic disease processes? Parasites are a player in the disease game. And if we continue to think that we are hygienically first world and we don't have third world problems, we're full of parasites. And it's not if you have parasites, it's when you decide you're going to deal with it. And
Yeah,
that's what I want people to grasp hold of. And if this
so
guy
good.
from 1920, not even a doctor, knew a nugget of truth about the power of food and feeding bugs in the body and the bugs overpowering the system. Well, he learned it in Genesis. Genesis talks about the value of all things God created, and they were all good. So ecosystems are for synergy and balance. The problem is he also gave man a command, which was to subdue the creepy crawly thing. What does that mean? That means the parasites are under our rule and control. We control the birds of the air, the fish of the sea, the things that walk and grow out of the ground. So guess what? If the parasites are outperforming or subduing you, then you're out of balance. And so it's not you have a bad body. It isn't because your mom and dad gave you bad genes. It's because you are out
Mm.
of balance. You're out of what I'm going to tell you this year, my word of the year, rhythm. You're out of rhythm. You're out of your
Yeah.
circadian heart rhythm, your detox rhythm, your digestive rhythm, your sleep and rest rhythm, your recovery rhythms. And these are the things God's showing me to really come back to. It's the basics. The rhythms of life are for you. They are like gravity. They work every time, and you don't have to make it difficult. And
Yeah.
so isn't that a great, powerful, long historical truth? All the way to the garden, we see and have seen the impacts of food. And guess how sin came in the world? Through
Food.
a choice around food.
Yeah.
Isn't
So
that
good.
interesting?
So good.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So good. There's so many different like points that you just made right there. Like this is absolute fire right now. Fire.
Filled
Hey.
inside with resurrection energy, baby. Come
Yeah, I
on.
didn't even mean to say that. I'm just curious, like my algorithm is probably like this because it just like drives me crazy, but have you seen there is a massive amount of like registered dietitians on social media that it's just like pouring into my algorithm right now who are actually telling people, like there was a video I saw recently where I can't remember the girl's name, but she said she's a registered dietitian and she recommends that all of her clients eat a piece of cake and a donut every single day because if you restrict that actually causes, like restrictive dieting actually causes more mental health and physical health issues than if you just let them have it. So she recommends
Mhm.
having, and then I saw another one I commented, or I made a reaction video to it of a girl who said you should eat French fries from McDonald's because actually gives you fiber.
Oh my gosh. Well, that
Have you
is,
seen any of
I
that?
really haven't, but I bet you now that my cell phone is sitting next to this computer and
Yeah,
just heard that,
it's
I'm going to get
listening.
it.
Yeah.
But
The
here's
next
what's,
video you're gonna
yeah,
see
oh,
is
I'm
gonna.
certain. But let's talk about that, right? So, like, there's the fastest way to the pearly gates is through the golden arches. That you can take to the bank. And again, if you eat make-believe food, Franken foods, as you were kind of alluding to earlier, and Franken foods that people don't realize is there's a book called Frankenstein, an old classic, and there was this old crazy doctor that literally raised and essentially put a man together and brought him to life, Frankenstein. And he was a monster, and all these things. And when we eat bioengineered food, we are essentially eating make-believe food, and the best we'll ever have is make-believe health. And the
I love that.
psychology, there is a metabolic set point. There are psychological things that people have locked in. But see, that's the wellness journey. If your biochemistry is right, then your biomechanics will be more right. Your bioemotional state will be more right. You can lay that down and build a foundation of spiritual health and truth and understanding and wisdom and resonance that you will go, yes, this is right. This is true. This
Yes.
aligns with how God created us. And I have a little sign right here on my computer that says, we are indeed designed by God. And then on this side, it says, yes and amen. And from the dawn of time to now, and food matters. Food matters. And if you're eating fake French fries, if you're eating the cake, you are asking for trouble. Now, let's say that we were playing a game and you're like, all right, Dr. Chapa, you're being a little too extreme. I need to find a soft point in you. Okay, great. So here's the soft point, okay? Now, understand, I'm challenging people to be wellness warriors. So, warriors are okay eating the same thing every day in a rhythm. Okay. Our bodies biomechanically and bioenergetically at the cellular level are very habitual. But if you were faced with the challenge and you had to pick, okay, this will be a fun little game. Which would you eat more? Would you eat the cake or the icing? That's actually a fair question. Okay, so let's say that you know good and well you're going to indulge. You're going to indulge, right? Your body will resource the carbohydrates from the fake grains and the glyphosates and all the other contaminants that are in the fake breading that made the cake. You would be better off taking the monosaccharide from the chemical that refined sugar is, and trusting your body's instincts to reject it before it gets in. So eat the icing, not the cake. Does that make sense? So you know,
Mm-hmm.
I want my cake and I want to, I want
Eat
to
it
eat it
too.
to
Yeah.
you or whatever. Well, in this case, don't eat the cake, eat the icing. If I had to make a decision, because your body should be able to handle a toxic exposure. Case in point, how many times has a person accidentally eaten something that was maybe questionable in the food realm and got food poisoning? I mean, I had a patient just the other day drink an old moldy glass of something
Ooh.
accidentally. Now, you might say, how did that happen? I'm sure there's a story in there. But just assume that it wasn't more than about 2 ounces of an old moldy drink. They had diarrhea, Hershey squirts for 5 days. Now, I bet you if they wouldn't have come in to see me, it would have been about 5 weeks, because we can do things to, like binders. We can do things like a intestinal purge or cleanse. We can help the body with enzymes clean up messes that we get exposed to. And I know you mentioned earlier, the gut lining and the brain are interconnected with one of the webinars that you built, which I encourage people to go watch again and again and again, because when you get this one health point right and you fix the gut, the brain works. Did you know I've been praying about this. I was praying about this just yesterday. Lord, teach me truly how digestion works. And I've been doing this 20 years. So why do you think I'm still praying about how it really works? Because I know there's still more to learn from our own body and how God designed it. He knit it together in our mother's womb. Do you know what that means? That means you were living and breathing in your mother's womb. Did you know? This is actually a kind of a fun off-point nugget. The first worship service occurred in the womb. Remember? John the Baptist leaped for joy.
Yeah.
Isn't
Yep.
that amazing? And
Yeah.
so the first worship service happened. So if you don't think that babies are alive and well in your womb, well, we got documented history of otherwise. You know what I mean? And so going forward, when we look at how the body is built, your digestive tract, stomach, breaks down the food called digestion. So if you don't have good stomach acids and you're on antacids, you're on all these acid blockers. Oh, they're called proton pump inhibitors. If you're on these things, the most barbaric thing a person could do is block up their stomach, to have a bypass, to have a sleeve. Now, this isn't judgment. Please understand. I know this is rough territory, but your stomach is your lifeline because absorption's everything. But if you can't digest it into something that you can absorb, you don't even give your body a chance to absorb it.
Yeah.
And
then
so
you can't get what you need to facilitate all of the chemical reactions that happen, millions of chemical reactions that happen in your body
millions.
every
I love
second.
that. Millions. And so your digestion in the stomach is number one, absorption's number two, manufacturing of B vitamins, manufacturing of neurotransmitters. So we know B vitamins run detox, B vitamins run heart, B vitamins run sleep, and then the neurotransmitters, what are they doing for our brain to make those synaptic activities happen and learning and growing develop? So if your body is anxious, if your mind is riddled with chaos, so is your gut. And we got to get those butterflies singing and flying in right formation at the gut level. And then the last thing that your digestive tract does is what? It eliminates. If you're not eliminating well, you're really up a creek without a paddle. You're in what I like to call trouble, 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 trouble. And the reason being is parasites' number one ploy on us as humans is to block up the junctions in our digestive tract. If they can slow down your sewer excretion rate, and they can cause hemorrhoids, by the way, hemorrhoids. Who doesn't have a hemorrhoid? Oh, it's not simply because you gave birth. Sometimes it's because you have a dirty liver, because you have dirty bowels, and the parasites will block up the hole. And now your 6-lane digestive highway turns into a 2-lane overrun construction highway. And now you
Nothing
have
can get out.
fermenting garbage. And what grows in a warm, moist environment? Oh my gosh. No wonder the parasites are growing astronomically. No wonder the viruses can't be managed. No wonder the bacteria and yeast are just in there having a poop party and they are excreting their waste all over everything inside. And now your brain is foggy, your gut is foggy, your body's backing up out of your sinuses and your lungs, and your kidneys are malfunctioning, and your blood pressure's going out of control. This is physiology. This isn't me making stuff up. These are connections. You can go research this stuff out. And I always like to tell people, don't take my word for it. You know what I mean? Make sure that you trust the advisors you're letting on your team. And 100%. That's what you and I are. I mean, you have 16 years in nursing. You've seen the other side in the ER. So fast-paced, activity and saving lives. And both of you and I would agree, saving lives is what Western doctors do well. But when it comes to wellness, when it comes to inflammation reduction, when it comes to true blue lifestyle modifications and longevity, vim, vigor, and vitality and energy, they don't have a clue. And that's where I want people to really grasp the truth of what you and I are discussing, talking about, and sharing with people all around.
Yeah, so good. I know we're coming up to the end now, and gosh, I just have I have a list of questions. I'm like, you have to come back.
I'm ready. I'll do it.
I want you to tell us, like, okay, so the sugar thing, I totally agree. I want, for clarity, do you mean all sugar, even like strawberries?
Oh, good question. So no, there are two different types of sugar. Okay. So you've got naturally occurring fruit sugar, and you have high fructose corn syrup, which is one of the 4 deadly food additives, the table sugar, which
Yep.
is just completely chemically altered. So that's a chemical. So of the top 10 most common food allergies, sugar is not in the top of the list. Why? Because it's a chemical. It's not even a food. So that's why earlier when I said, if I'm going to eat one or the other, I'm going to eat something that is as minimally chemically like
Altered,
a single it's pretty chemically altered, but it's a single chemical versus I have no idea how many gut bombs are in a boxed cake. You know what I mean? Or a boxed cookie or a pre-done pizza deal. You know what I mean? I have no idea. I can't even, you and I can't calculate the gut, and I'm going to use the word gut bombs that are in there. Gut bombs means it tears your gut lining apart, causing leaky gut. So we want to eat real food that grows off of a tree or grows out of the ground. We want to eat real foods like animal proteins that have a mother or a father. that run around and play, that are living and active, right? And so what I tell people is eat real food. Now, if we're talking about can you overindulge in fruit? Oh, yeah. Never in societal history have we been able to consume the fruit levels that we consume. And fruit sugar, otherwise known as fructose, some of you may call it fructose. I don't care about the semantics so much, but fructose, fruit sugar can damage the liver, just like if you were an alcoholic. So I have so many non-alcoholic fatty liver disease people, or non-alcoholic diabetics, and non-alcoholic Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and dementia cases that come in because the liver's damaged because of overconsumption of fruit. And most people think that, the grape jam is fruit. No, that's not fruit. That's high fructose corn syrup. That's chemical.
Yeah.
That's dyes. That's not
fake. It's frankenfood.
It's frankenfood, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, blackberries. Well, I teach that those particular foods are what we call brain berries, and we can consume those. And so fruit vegetables in a 2-to-1 ratio would be how a person would consume it. So 2 vegetables to 1 fruit if you're going to be on the vegetable fruit protein train, the paleo style living. Okay, lower carb, of course, but we would do 2 vegetables to 1 fruit and your protein as the hub, 70% of your plate. And so fruit sugar isn't the end of the world, but if you're eating nothing but dried fruit, well, you're just eating candy. Okay. If you're eating a fruit bar, if you're eating a fig Newton,
that's frankenfood.
That's frankenfood. So you have to really help people. I've learned that people think a fig bar is okay because it's fig. They think that the organic jelly is okay. It is not. It's garbage. That is what we call a sometimes or never food. Okay. And so do people eat those things, and can we navigate it? It depends. It really depends on how damaged is the liver and how inflamed is the body on day one. Sometimes we have to really push the body into detox and help that body find its rhythm. And when that body finds its rhythm, that's where the magic really kicks in, and they start getting the turnaround that we've been talking about today. And that's what I want people to grasp hold of, is that no matter, if there was one thing that I would share with our listeners, is this: it is your life, it is your health, it is your choice. But ignorance is not bliss. You have to get educated. And you can't, if you have a doctor right now that doesn't think food matters, or they tell you a food in your vitamin is a problem, you ought to question whether they truly know anything about your well-being and long health, and find
another doctor.
Yes,
for sure.
So thank you for that.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Chapa, wow.
I'm excited. You were excited. You got me all kinds of fired up on the front of this video, man. And I'm just so excited to be a part of your listeners' world and to share this message. I always encourage people, drchopawellness.com is where you can go and
Yeah,
find me
thank you.
and really essentially learn and grow and develop. And we have courses, and we've got, my podcast, and we've got every Monday night I do my own show on all the different platforms, and we save them on our YouTube channel because, again, you and I are wellness warriors. We're leading the pack, and we're taking people onward, upward, goodward, and Godward. And I pray that people know, as you mentioned earlier, all things are possible for those that have faith in the Lord. And my favorite Bible verse is Hebrews 10:23, and it says, "Let us hold fast our confession of hope without wavering, because the God who has promised is faithful." Makes me excited. So, guys, you are in good hands when you have trusted advisors here in the Nasty Now and Now, the Holy Spirit led, and they're praying for you. That's what we do really well. It's our vitamin P, and then we encourage patients to grab hold of vitamin J, Jesus, and then stay in faith and stay in gratitude, vitamin G, and they will find abundance in their health, vitamin A, in all things in this world that we are navigating. And we will truly be, at that point, salt and light.
Yeah. Oh, such a good, yeah. Well, I was going to ask you to share where people could get a hold of you, but you already said drchopawellness.com, and I'll include that link in the show notes. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. It was just mind-blowing and so impactful. I know that this is going to hit exactly how it's supposed to and touch people exactly the way it's supposed to, because God was all over this.
Beautiful, beautiful. That again makes it all wild and worth it for me, because if people grasp hold of the number one vitamin J, Jesus, life is going to be better. And then they get educated, and then they find, the journey, right? This is the one last little note. Enjoy the process, even when it's frustrating. I was just praying before I got on this show, Lord, I want to be a billionaire. And I said, but I want your will first, right? Because I look at my life over the last few years, and I go, look at who I've become in the struggle. And I am a very, very active, busy life. My son said something interesting last week about we are a house of activity. And so we oftentimes find ourselves on the go. And there's seasons of life that are that way. And how we take care of ourselves in those seasons matter. How we take care of ourselves mentally, spiritually, emotionally, biomechanically, and of course, through good relationships with others. Everything matters. Everything matters. And so sometimes I wonder, we all think we want to be so comfortable we can just sit on a beach, but you'd be shocked at how much you've grown through the valleys. And so I just want to really encourage people to appreciate the progress that they're making, even if it seems slow, because the tortoise and the hare, who won? The slow one, right? Inch by inch, it's ascent. And so we just keep on keeping on and keep moving forward one step at a time. And the last thing I'll drop is one of my mentors, John D'Onofrio, God rest his soul. He said the difference between the winners and the losers is one more step.
So good. So good, Dr. Chapa. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. If this episode resonated with you, please leave me a review. Share this message with a friend. Send it to somebody who needs it, because this is not just a message. This is a movement, and healing is always possible. Thanks for listening. Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to Holistic Health with Melissa. It is such an honor to have you here. If you found value in today's episode, would you share it with a friend who might need it too, and leave us a review? If you have questions or topic suggestions, reach out on social media or visit our website, holistichealthbymelissa.com, and take care. I'll catch you on the next episode.